Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. I'm really excited because today I'm joined by Lauree Ostrofsky. She is a sought after business and marketing strategist with over 20 years of experience guiding owners and leaders to really create a meaningful work, build organizations that last, and step boldly into visibility and confidence. And most recently, she added consulting with some specific industries that we'll probably hear a little bit more about. But what I really am excited to get into with her today is really the impact she's been making in the area that we live in the Hudson Valley area of New York, and especially with women. So, Lauree, welcome to the show. I know that you are very passionate about working with leaders and organizations. And I'm just glad you could take some time to join us today.
Oh, I'm thrilled, Anna. Thank you.
I'm really glad you're here. And I have to say, we met recently and had lunch together, and your story is really very inspiring. And I wonder if we could just start with that a little bit as we get to know you. So, what can you share with us about who you are and maybe a little bit about the journey you've taken to get here?
Sure. Well, my background's in marketing and communications. I did that for a bunch of years. And what made me make the switch into coaching and business strategy was really a personal event. When I was 28, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor, with a benign brain tumor. And that kind of life altering moment that I think a lot of us have in our lives in
Mm,
different ways. That's like the path I thought I was on took a very quick turn that I had to respond to first personally and, kind of change my life in the short term. And then it had me question the full direction of where I was heading in my relationships, in my work, in my view of what was scary and what wasn't, all of
yeah.
those things.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that if someone had told you back then that you would have experienced something like a brain tumor. I mean, I was shocked when you said it to me. How do you feel it changed you,
Oh,
the
well,
experience itself?
yeah, for sure. Well, at 28, I was still in the I'm invincible stage, like this
Yeah.
isn't going to happen to me kind of thing. So it came as a real shock. And what I'd say as well is folks who know me know that I tend to talk about being an A student. And an A student to me is the person who really values rules and structure, thrives in that kind of environment. And I would say I was still very much in that place in my life at 28. I took the feedback from my bosses and the praise from my parents and other people I respected. I took that so seriously. And I actually wasn't very happy in my work at that time.
Mm.
But the thought of potentially disappointing someone was almost too much to bear. I worried about it all the time. And yet, when I found myself facing something truly scary, something
Yeah.
truly out of my control, it helped me recognize that shifting careers or saying, I'm not exactly happy here was manageable, even if it
Mhm.
was still a little scary and worrying.
Yeah, I'm sure it made other choices or decisions not seem so big. Fast forwarding to today, how much of that has shaped your mission as a coach and as someone who is helping other leaders, other women in business?
Yeah, well, I'll say at the essence, the core of my work is about helping people recognize how much power we're sitting on.
Mm,
And it's because I recognized what kind of power I still had in this debilitating moment from inside the ICU. I recognized that my thoughts, my feelings, the words that I chose, the people I surrounded myself with dramatically affected my own healing process. And if that could be affected in a place where I was at my weakest, what's possible when I'm stronger and out in the world using all of those same tools, the words that I use, the people I surround myself with, the thoughts that I have about something. And that's really the center of the work that I do with business owners and with executives and leaders. It's like, what are the words you're using? How are you holding yourself in this position? How can we feel clear and more confident about the direction that you or your organization are going in? So that's really like from the hospital to today, that's the connection
yeah.
between it.
When did you know you wanted to be a coach or a consultant?
I decided in the hospital, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I had worked with a coach the year prior to ask for a sabbatical. So no one had ever asked for time off in the PR agency that I was working in. But I worked with a coach and said, "Well, what do you have to lose if you ask for this? I had some time off. I could pool it and ask for some unpaid leave to go with it and be able to travel." And it was that relationship with a coach and recognizing, oh, I could have a team member, I could have a
Mm.
partner and brainstormer in a shift that I then applied from, like I said, within the hospital. And so a year after I got out of the hospital was when I went into a coaching program to study.
That's awesome. What do you love most about the work that you do?
Oh, I really love working with other A students to build ourselves up with praise from the inside, which isn't always the easiest place for recognizing what we want to do in the direction that we're drawn to, not what someone else thinks we should do or where praise might or likes from social media may come from.
Yeah.
Um, I'd say I love shifting a narrative. The retreats and the communities that I lead are centered around saying what's really happening. And sometimes that means saying, I don't know what to do next, or I'm uncomfortable about the next move I need to make professionally and
Mm.
personally. And the kind of camaraderie and strength that can come from that kind of vulnerable conversation.
Yeah. I know you have a book called Simply Leap, and there's several things that I think you touch on and that we've talked about too. Just let's start with the word leap. What does that mean to you? And what do you think is so many questions around leaping? Because I think a lot of times people hear that word and a lot of feelings show up, right? Because they might picture the gap being this big, but sometimes we need to take smaller leaps. So just talk to us a little bit about what leap truly means and maybe even the first leap you can remember taking. And
Yeah,
maybe what
okay.
you've already described.
Right. So I think the terms simply and leap go together because exactly of what you're describing. Sometimes we consider this gigantic leap when in reality, a leap of any size is made up of a lot of smaller leaps,
Mm.
a change in mindset, a smaller decision, a conversation that you decide to have instead of avoid.
And you know what I literally just thought of was leapfrog,
Yes.
right? Like it's just moving. Sometimes it's just moving
Mhm.
and jumping over whatever might be in front of you or in your way.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And so I'd also think that there are two main kinds of leapers,
Mm.
and your audience may recognize themselves in this. So some of us leap and then figure it out as we're going, build the parachute on the way down.
I
I tend
believe,
to as well.
personally, I believe the net shows up once I jump. That's
Yes,
me.
exactly. So there's that. And then there's the planners, the
Sure.
like, I need to have thought about a lot of these points before I make that move. And both of them are fine. And I think it's just recognizing which way works for you. So that way you set yourself up to really be able to do it.
Mhm.
So for instance, I am a leap first kind of person, which means if I overthink something, and I'm a natural overthinker, if I overthink something, I know I will never leap.
Mm.
I need to know just enough to build kind of a little trust and faith to then leap.
Yes.
Whereas the planner side, also completely fine, needs more of a plan in place, which coaching and strategy building is made for. And then sometimes we need to recognize in that planning stage when we're staying in planning to avoid the eventual leap and when we have to leap anyway.
Yeah. And what I believe to be true, and I know that there's been a lot of research in the field of positive psychology to support it, is I think, sometimes people believe that their confidence has to be built up in order to try something. And yet, what we know to be true is that it's in the doing that your confidence is built and found. And because it's in the doing that you figure it out and you make mistakes and you learn. And I think that if you're willing to try and if you're willing to take a leap, then, things are going to start happening. And from there is where you start to see growth and opportunity, right?
Absolutely. Yes, yes. That we learn so much more about ourselves. And from a business perspective, we learn so much more about what will actually be successful, what our
Yeah,
clients or customers really want by putting something out there. There's
sure.
only so much we can figure out before we start.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's only so much information or evidence available. And to your point, I think sometimes you have to figure it out a little bit as you go. And there's something to be said for failing forward. There's something to be said for, and I know at the moment sometimes it doesn't always feel great, but it's not really working out or things start to feel like it's going sideways. Can we take a time out and assess and learn from that in order to figure out what the next step is, what the next leap might be?
Yes, and exactly. I would build on that, the concept of research.
Mm,
So if you're nervous about moving forward, but you consider it research and data collection, then you're more willing because the truth is you are collecting data. Any kind of movement, any kind of action you take allows you to collect some data about what works, what doesn't, what needs to be tweaked, all of that. If we go in believing that we are researching, then every interview we have, every sale that we make or newsletter we put out there, sales call we're on, each one of those is only a data point. Each one of
mhm.
those is information we're collecting that we then can come back, hopefully with a coach or consultant or a mastermind group that you trust to then analyze that data with enough data points. And so for most of my clients, that is a space of comfort. It's like, oh, I know how to collect data. I
Mhm.
know how to analyze data. Well, that actually then creates confidence and empowerment to go out there and make those actions to collect the data.
Yeah. So something else I know you talk about and teach is the utilization of fear.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about that because you even alluded to it a few minutes ago in something that you said about fear even motivating you.
Hmm.
So you believe it's a significant, important part of the process. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Sure. Well, so my first book, which is around a memoir about my brain tumor, is called I'm Scared and Doing It Anyway.
Yes.
And the idea actually came from my first ever speech that I gave. And part of the speech, I mentioned about what I'd learned about fear. And I said, I'm on stage tonight as an introvert because I'm scared and doing it anyway. And so many people yelled it back to me from the audience and then approached me the rest of the night. I'm scared and doing it anyway, too. There's something about that ownership
Yeah.
that allows other people to own it as well. Like if
Mhm.
I'm admitting to you that I'm scared and doing it anyway, you might feel braver
Sure.
to do that as well. And
Well,
so,
you're creating this space where I feel connection with you, and in that process, I feel seen at that moment.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know.
And also there's such a big push towards fearlessness.
Mm-hmm.
And when in fact, we shouldn't deny a feeling that's actually really useful to us. Like fear can identify when something is really important.
Sure.
So I'll say, if I wasn't scared of this interview I'm about to have or this conversation I'm about to have, then it probably didn't mean that much to me. The
Yes.
fear, the worry, the concern about the next step that you're taking means you're onto something, means that you are going in the direction of what you really want as opposed to what feels safe.
I love that. I love that. And I hope someone's really picking up what you just dropped because that puts the significance of what you're doing, right? The meaning. And I love that you are reminding us that if you're feeling that, it's because it's big, it's because it's important. We've all seen the posts on, social media that say if it doesn't scare you, it's not important enough. But I love that because fear can be a motivator.
Mhm. Yeah, right. Just like anger. I mean, the strong feelings, when we're aware and we recognize and we acknowledge them, can be really useful for
Yeah.
us. I think the other thing about it is self-kindness.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm scared and doing it anyway. It has two parts for a reason. One is to recognize your fear and
Mm-hmm.
what allows you to do it anyway. So many of us have like the mean teacher, mean parent in our head that goes, well, you
Yeah.
better do it. When in reality, the part that allows you to do it anyway is the kindness that you have around, yeah, this is scary. This is unknown. I'm not sure what's going to happen if I do this, but let's try. We can try. This is a data point that we're collecting. I liken it to taking a kid to their first day of kindergarten. Most of us would not drop the kid off on the front door and be like, good luck, kid. You'd say, here's your favorite snack. Look for someone friendly, find your seat. We'd say something encouraging. Oh, I believe in you. Well,
Right.
we kind of need that as adults too. Like we need like the little pep talk, like,
Sure.
oh, I can figure this out or this possible. I've done these other things. So this new step is actually just part of the path that I'm already on. And it's that, I think, awareness of the fear or whatever feelings we're having. And then that kindness of, yeah, this is a totally normal feeling. It's a sign that I'm on the right track. See what could happen.
And just to support what we said a minute ago too about confidence, it's again in the doing, right? It's in the pushing through the fear and the encouragement that you try new things that it starts to dissipate the fear. I'm sure someone's sitting here thinking, well, what about the fact that as much as you say fear could be a motivator, it can be very debilitating too. And
Absolutely.
and I think it's not even the fear, it's your response to it. Because if you respond with, I'm afraid and I'm going to do it anyway, that movement forward is going to help you start to see it differently, feel differently about it. The confidence starts to build, the courage shows up through the actions. And yet, if you believe that fear should keep you stuck, then, that's what's going to happen. And look, we all struggle with fear, and it's just how long you decide to sit with it.
Yeah. Right. Or what you tell yourself about that fear. Like
Hmm.
that
The
fear means I
story.
shouldn't, or if I'm scared, I'm not good enough.
Hmm.
It's that kind of thing. Like if we tell ourselves this is a totally normal feeling, let's see what can happen, or
Yes.
this is a good sign, then we interact with it differently. We feel better about it.
Yeah, for sure. So let's shift a little bit to you have used this term a student. Just in case anyone's curious about that, I would love for you to expand on what you mean by an A student. We've also talked about being an introvert. So I'm sure there are many people listening who are like, oh, okay, I've called myself an introvert too. So how do you help A students and introverts, find the confidence in helping them to show up? To do the things that they say they want to accomplish.
Yeah, both of them have pretty strong ideas in our head about what
Yeah.
they mean. My sense of an A student is not about the grade so much as perhaps how you felt like in third grade when they listed the rules on the board. There was a lot of comfort in that because I could see what the rules were. I knew exactly what was required. I totally knew I could do those things. And there was this level of relief that, like, I might get a gold star or a pat on the back if I did it, but really just to know. And I think one of the things that those of us who are kind of recovering A students from that point in our lives um, is the bummer about being an adult is that there are not clear rules.
Yeah.
Like, it is not clear the
You're
next
making
step.
me feel better because I listened to that. I was like, I was not an A student. I was like, darn, there's rules.
But that, somehow we need some external
Oh,
confirmation
definitely. Yeah,
we're on the right track.
for sure.
And when we don't have that, I give the example that when I'm at the dentist and they say, "Oh, I can tell you've been flossing." That feels like an adult A. Like I feel a little bolstered, like, yeah, I was flossing. Thank you for noticing. But I think if we've been used to external, if we're people pleasers, if
Mm,
we've had that external drive in the past, then sometimes to devise like an entrepreneurial path or a path as an executive or leader, it's like there's no one in front of us anymore. So, how do we determine what's the right choice? That's usually what I help A students do. Like, how do we decide from the inside? We
mm.
are already successful in the direction that we're going in, but we want to decide more, like I said, from the inside as opposed to whatever external support we may be getting. For introverts, and so there's shy introverts and there's outgoing introverts.
Extroverted introverts, right?
Yes, and as a speaker, I never saw myself as a speaker actually because I was also shy and I get really tired having been out in the world and speaking and things
It
like that.
depletes
So
your energy. Most
yes,
introverts would agree with you that,
yes,
and even extroverted introverts would agree that they can socialize, and especially if they know there's a purpose for it. And that's
yes.
not to say you don't have friends or a small circle, but it's just, it depletes your energy. Where extroverts, me being an extrovert,
You get more
I
from
want
it.
more of it because that
Yeah.
actually helps me recharge my battery, ironically, right? The more people, and of course I'm learning too that my downtime and quiet time is important. But yes, I definitely understand what you mean by you get tired when you're, as an introvert, when you're out with people because you're using so much of your skill set to be able to connect and socialize, I would assume.
Yes. And there's this great book on introversion by the author Susan Cain, and she
Mhm.
talks about studies that are done about our brains and that introverts tend to be more one channel. Either they're speaking or they're receiving. So
Mm.
that's why introverts are really awesome listeners because that's the only channel that's working, whereas extroverts are speaking and listening more easily at the same time. And so introverts going into a situation, so when I'm going to a networking event or even a one-on-one coffee, I think about the energy I'm building up before I go and knowing the moment when I need to leave and recharge. Like having that time in between
You
is
become
really
very
important.
aware of that.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I can be fully present. It's recognizing where you get your energy from and
yeah,
building in that as opposed to accepting it about yourself, as opposed to trying to work against it in order to be able to meet as many people as maybe an extrovert would at
right.
a networking event. So I meet 3 people at a networking event and then leave.
You
And
know
then
that's sort of your thermostat. So
exactly.
that's good guidance for people who can say or relate to being an introvert because I think awareness is everything. And if you're not aware, you can't deal with it. So, number one, I agree with that. And so to know what your thermostat is, to know when you feel like you've had enough and then it's time to exit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And also usually as an introvert, because we're listening so intently, we also have deeper conversations with, we're not going to work the room, but we are going to have a concerted conversation. And so three, three deep conversations or concerted conversations is a lot, is
Sure.
very worthwhile.
That's a
And
good
I
point too.
also
Yes.
think that introverts are great at follow-up
Ah,
because we've really listened, we're more likely to be able to share more back and say,
mhm.
hey, I remember you said this. Here's that referral. I'm interested in this other piece that you mentioned. Here's something about my work that might fit with that. I think we have to recognize where our skills are best used, which is follow
Absolutely.
up, listening, research, and social media is made for an introvert.
Yeah. And an extrovert too, though, right?
Yeah,
That's an
absolutely.
interesting concept. Yeah, so many things that you're saying definitely resonate. And I've talked about it here on Mojo before, the power of energy and understanding how to harness energy and use your energy and be aware of your energy. And also understanding more about who you are. That starts with self-awareness and recognizing what your strengths are and being okay with what they're not and accepting, exactly what is part of your blueprint, your behavioral blueprint, and working within that. I think that's super important. And you've referred to working with clients now. So help us understand if you had one thing that and of course, we all help our clients in many ways, and we have a lot of different tools in our toolbox and skills. But if there was one thing that you feel you do really well when it comes to supporting your clients or the ideal client that comes to you, what does it really boil down to?
Yeah, so my marketing background comes in a lot. So
Mm,
what I end up doing with every client that I work with is one, clarifying what your ideal work life is. And
mm.
that means when you wake up in the morning, when you go to bed at night, as well as what feels like a satisfying day, what are all of the pieces that need to fit in order for your work and your life to work. So I that's one thing I absolutely do with every client. And the other one is your ideal audience. So whether you're applying for jobs or growing and building a business, you need to know who you're targeting, who it is you most want to reach and why. And that is, I would say that is the core of the work that I do is who are we really talking to? How do we narrow that kind of focus so it feels aligned with what you do best. And also so people get it, because so many of us think we're being clear about the people we like to work with and the people we want most to attract, but it almost sounds like we could work with anybody, as
Yeah, we come
which is
across as a
the
general
person.
practitioner, right?
Yes,
And there is something to
exactly.
be said for having that niche. And I've helped clients work through that too. And, I know that for some people, it feels almost like you're losing something, like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm cutting myself off. But I think when you get clear about your niche or that ideal client, the person who's going to say yes to you more times than not,
Hmm.
you really can craft and hone in on your value proposition and what you're going to offer and what the result might be that they experience, the deliverables. And I think it becomes a ripple effect from there. I think that other businesses or other people will find you because you're so clear about what you're doing. And
Hmm.
I love that you help people with clarity, because that's been an important word showing up for me a lot lately too. So what are a couple questions, you might ask someone, or if someone's listening and they're inspired by this, what are some questions they could ask themselves to get that clarity?
Oh gosh, that itself is a great question. Thank you for bringing that in. Yeah, the first question I normally ask is, because it isn't always easy to answer, what do you really want?
Mm,
Sometimes we start with, what do you know you absolutely don't want?
great.
Who do you absolutely don't want to work with? What do you absolutely not want to be doing in your day?
Mhm.
Because I don't know if you try to order dinner on a Friday night and you go, I don't know what I want, but I can tell you I don't want pizza.
Right. That's yes.
It's
Yes.
like that. So I'd say start clarifying by what you don't want, because there's something in the not that
Sure.
will show you, well, if it's not that, that means it's probably this or something like this. The other thing is, what from your past was so clear, was such a yes, that
Mm,
you didn't have to question it.
great question.
Because there's something about that either points you to what you want to be doing next, or what the next yes is going to feel like, so you can wait for it.
Hmm.
Because just because it hasn't happened doesn't mean it isn't going to, that there's a lot of negatives in there, but it means that it's about to. You are just honing your ability to recognize and welcome it in when it does.
I also have to ask too, as you were sharing that, I got thinking about the fact that you work primarily with women. Am I
Yes.
right? And that's
Yes.
something that you're very purposeful about.
Yes.
As a coach who works primarily with women, what do you see as the biggest barrier keeping women from embracing more of their own visibility, confidence, the things they say they want? What do you think is going on there for us?
I'm going to say it the positive way, which is,
Sure.
I think that the things that women are best at need to be valued more, or we need to value them more. Women tend to be incredible community builders, incredible cheerleaders, supporters, people who can lift each other up, which makes them great referrers, by the way,
Yeah.
and marketers, and people you can have in your corner to help you go further. Women are also really good at camaraderie as opposed to competition.
Oh,
So
I
when I
love that. So,
graduated
so talk
from,
about that a little bit.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
tell us more.
So when I graduated from the coaching program where I was certified, I looked around the room and there were 30 of us who were graduating. And I had this kind of realization. If I believe that I am competing with these people in the room and all of the other coaches who are graduating at the same time, I might as well not go into this business. I have to believe that us being here means that there are more clients, there are enough clients for all of us, and that us being out in the world is only going to improve the industry that I'm walking into.
Brava. I love
Yeah.
that.
And I think that women naturally get that. And
Yes.
so I think that it's not always been valued, that competition has been so heightened in value for
You know
decades.
what's interesting? And I'm just going to be honest. It was a comment made by a man, and it's nothing sexist, guys. I'm probably going to get in trouble for this one. But, someone asked me, we were talking about the podcast. They were giving me some
Mhm.
great positive, feedback and thanking me for what I was doing there. And they asked me, it's funny, periodically, you bring on a lot of coaches. And I was wondering why you would want that, because wouldn't you want people to just keep coming back for you and your services? And I was like, well, I believe in collaboration and I believe that we all have different gifts and perspectives, and of course, certainly different niches and clients that we serve. And I'm learning something too. I'm learning from everyone around me. And I think that's one of the things that has been so fun about the podcast and me continuing to do it. I just said that to a friend the other day. I'm proud of myself that I'm still doing it because by nature, I'm not always as disciplined as a lot of people are structured and as a lot of people might think. And I'm just glad that I'm continuing it. But I'm continuing it because of, having fabulous people like you on and conversations. And I'm learning and taking notes. And so, yeah, I love that you said, that we need to collaborate and not compete. And I think you're right. I think as women, sometimes that may come a little more naturally. I don't know. But if someone listening now is hearing this, how can they overcome that fear or that limiting beliefs that they might be holding on to about themselves? How do you help people work through that or overcome that?
Oh, limiting beliefs. Yeah, gosh, so many different ways. One is exactly what you said before, which is action is the easiest way for us to
Mm,
prove ourselves wrong. And often we go to the past first. Okay, when's a time when you felt like you were brave? When was the time that you did it before? Because that seed is still in you now. How can we tap into it now in this new situation? The other thing is we've said over and over that acceptance, self-acceptance, and self-understanding is huge.
yes.
And if I know I'm an introvert and I'm not great at approaching people I don't know, I'm going to totally get a buddy. Talk about
Right.
collaborative, cooperative work. Okay, I have this great extroverted friend who literally will walk into any room. I'm like, great, I am following behind her or next to her because I don't have to be different. I get to accept who I am and recognize like I need to be able to articulate what I do well enough so people know why they want to choose me, but I don't have to be the bravest person to walk in front of the room. I have to recognize that, like, okay, if I have a buddy, I already feel braver. So I would say limiting beliefs sometimes come from forgetting what we've already done in the past
Mm,
or wanting to do something like somebody else does instead of creating an opportunity to do it that way that works best for us.
yeah, that's it. You have to know that's why self-awareness is so important. So you can work within your operating system, right? Work
Yes.
within, and I think a lot of times we waste a lot of time
Oh my,
resisting
so
instead
much
of
energy.
accepting, right? Yeah. Yeah. Back to the energy again, too. And I think a lot of people sometimes get stuck between what it means to be bold, right? You hear all these messages, right? Act bold and, live large and don't play small. And that can feel overwhelming at times because you just don't even know, or you start to think about what is expected of me in a certain situation, or what I have to do to please other people, or is
How
there a
does what
version
I
of
do
me?
compare to somebody else?
Yeah, is there a version of me that I should hide, the shadow self? And so I think what I love about the work you do is that I think you're allowing people to take a deep breath first and just say, okay, this is who I am. This is where I'm at.
Yeah.
And what do we want to do with it?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So, where are you at, Lauree? What's going on in your world personally? What are some projects you're working on? What are some things that, might be really fun to share?
Oh, thank you. I have an ongoing membership called Advisory Alliance that feels really generative to me. So it's for women, entrepreneurial women and leaders to come together virtually up to 5 times a month. Two of those are strategy sessions. So we get in the virtual room together, present our challenges, the things that we're working on, the questions that we haven't answered yet. And as a group, we mastermind what those challenges are. So you feel in it with other people. A lot of us spend a lot of time in our own heads or feeling alone. Like as a business
Hmm.
owner, you usually feel alone trying to figure out some stuff. Having a cadre or a mastermind of people makes a really big difference. I love the work that I'm doing. I can reach women across the country, and yeah, so that feels really generative to me. I do in-person retreats in the Hudson Valley as well, which people from all over also welcome. And that is so like really lovely to be in the room together for a full day. I know I know you love that in-person
Yeah.
work too.
Yeah.
Those are the two main things that I'm working on right now. In addition to the organizational work, I'm talking with consulting for business owners who are about to receive a loan or a grant and how to use that influx of support of investment to create more sustainability in your business.
That's great, because sometimes I think as a small business owner, you need the capital, but then when it shows up, it's about how to use it strategically and how to use it effectively. So is that what you're doing, helping them sort of figure out what comes next?
Exactly. More of the holistic view of like,
Hmm.
yes, you need a new refrigeration system. And what are we doing around it, even marketing wise, to allow that new refrigeration system or social media manager you're hiring to actually affect your bottom line going forward? What
That's
are the other
great.
systems that get set in place that makes it worthwhile?
Okay, awesome. So is there a question that I haven't asked you that I should have asked you?
No, I mean, this has been a wide ranging, just a wonderful. I love the part that you said about why you have other coaches on. And
Mm,
it just made me think of this great moment when I was hosting a community of women business owners. And we were kind of going around in a circle introducing ourselves. And two women were seated next to each other, and both of them were massage therapists, and they could introduce each other. They said, okay, this is why you'd want to go to her. This is why you'd want to come to me.
oh, I love it.
And to me, that is the goal. That is the goal of like collaborative, cooperative, how we all succeed
Yeah.
is by understanding our work well enough to be able to differentiate and support the person next to us.
Yeah, I love that. And I'll say, in my own experience building businesses and coaching, I think even the way I was raised, my mom used to say there's a lid for every pot, right? And I am someone who thinks abundantly too. And so I always believe there's enough for everybody, right? And if there isn't enough, I'll create some way to open a door somewhere for there to be more to flow in. So that's how I operate. And I think that for me, I learned early on, similar, in alignment with what we were saying about your defining your ideal client or knowing that one thing that you do really well, because you just have to understand like we can't be everything to everyone. So therefore, trying to serve every client or trying to offer every service is not going to make you effective. It's certainly not going to help you build mastery. And so what you just described in those two professionals sitting together, knowing like, oh, maybe this massage therapist is really good at a particular process or model, and I might be the one you come to for this. And I just love that. And I think that they created abundance around them for the way that they supported each other's business. And you have to believe that will come back to you. You
Yes.
have to believe energetically. Again, there's energy again. You have to believe energetically that will come back to you. While you're still clear about what you want, your goals, and you're
Mhm.
going after that and not being apologetic about it, but just that there's room for everybody. And I believe that competition is down here and collaboration is always up here. And collaboration is part of being higher minded. So, yeah, I thank you. And I agree with that.
Okay.
So, last question before I let you go. How do you maintain your mojo?
Oh, okay. So I have a puzzle going at any time in my office. Just off camera, I have a puzzle.
Interesting.
And puzzles are a fantastic way for me to feel like things are solvable. So
Mm,
the world, my work, my family, my community have big problems. You know what I mean? Like have problems that take time or solutions that come up,
yeah.
as we put the pieces in place. But the puzzle at any one moment is the way I get back to, okay, this is solvable. This is solvable. Okay, I have more energy or drive for the bigger ones to dig into when I have that smaller certainty nearby.
That's awesome. I love that. I was reminded of something. I think it's Maria Forleo has been quoted as saying that everything's figure outable.
Yes.
And so I love that. Well, Lauree, you are a pleasure. I feel like we'll collaborate on more things, and I look
Yes.
forward to that and maybe even having you back on the podcast too. And now, if someone's interested in learning more about you or working with you, how can they find you?
Sure. I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram
Mhm.
with my name, Lauree Ostrofsky. And you can find me at laurieostrofsky.com, where I have my membership and my books and any of the retreats I have coming up.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you for being here. I trust that, the audience got a lot out of this and hopefully they're sharing this episode with people that need it too. And I appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much, Anna. I appreciate this too.
You're very welcome. All right, everyone. I will see you at the next episode. Take care.